Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis with news and rumours. Today we are talking about 7th edition, which by the time this video goes up, the White Dwarf will be out and pre-orders will be available. So the product list will already be out if people want to go and find them. They'll be on Games Workshop's website, I expect. The official launch date is said to be the 24th, so that will be this Saturday coming. And the products launched will be something along these lines. You can get the Psychic Power cards for £15. They're $15. I'm going to have to work in American money because I didn't see the UK price listings, I'm afraid. So $15 will give you the 50 Psychic Power cards. There's been a lot of changes to Psychic, so I'm going to come on to that. The new tactical objectives, there are 36 of those, and they will be in an $8 pack. These are things you get with the new Maelstrom of War missions, which I'm also going to come on to. And the rules are going to be sold slightly differently. The thumbnail, the picture for this video, is going to be the box picture for the rules, because there are going to be 3 books sold, and it's going to cost £50, $85 or €65 depending on where you live. And there will be 3 books: the rules, the fluff and the hobby. So there'll be a collecting book, how to go about collecting, there will be a background book, and there will be the actual rule book. All of them will be about 200 pages each, and they're sold in one. You can't just buy the rules, you can't just buy the fluff, you have to buy them all together. I don't know if I think this is actually a good thing, because if anyone remembers, everyone will remember the 6th edition rulebook. That thing was a lump. You had to carry that around, and it's a lot easier to take a 200 page A4 or A5 book and take that with you and leave the other 2 at home than to take the whole thing. Well, I think this is actually a change for the better, even if the price has gone up again. Ah well. There's also a special edition called the Munitorum edition. This apparently will cost $360. I may have got that wrong. I think it's about 200 quid. And it's 2,000 copies, so it's very limited edition. It includes extra artwork, a small-sized version of the rulebook, but all the rules will still be in it. It's going to be like the pocket editions we saw in box games. An A1 map, so pretty damn huge map. I'm not sure quite what A1 is, but it's very big. 6 special objective markers, and I'm assuming the power cards and the tactical objectives will be in there as well. They're the main launches. I don't think I've got anything else. There will obviously be some maybe some limited edition models. There's rumour of a limited edition Terminator Captain from a image from one of the videos that Games Workshop launched, so look out for that as well. And now we move on to what we think we know about the rules. Now obviously nobody has 7th edition in front of them yet. This is all what we've seen from images from White Dwarf and from videos. So these are still need to be taken with a slight pinch of salt, because we're not quite sure how they're going to apply to the game. So the big one that we all know about is the Force Organisation chart. There are 2 types now. One is Battle Forged, which is basically you use the FOC, as I'm going to call it. And you get bonuses for doing this. So your troops hold objectives even if enemy scoring units are in range, unless they also have the same rule. It's called Objective Secured. And what it means is that, let's say my tactical squad, guardsman squad, is sat on an objective and I'm playing against an army that isn't using Force Org, I can then hold that objective even if their troops are there. So that's a very big perk. Of course, if you're playing 2 Battle Forged armies, both sets of troops have objectives secured, and so the 2 cancel out. However, I think it will still overrule elite units. I'm not sure. And the other perk is for your Warlord. He can re-roll the Warlord trait. We've all had it, haven't we? That one time where you're playing a game and you get the useless Warlord trait. You've got 4 great ones and you get one of the useless ones. Well, now you can re-roll it. And I think that's a really nice little perk. We don't know if the traits are going to change. We haven't seen anything, but I don't think they are. So they're quite useful for Battle Forged. Of course, you can take the FOC and throw it out the window. And we call this Unbound, which basically means you have no limits. However, I do think there are a fair few limitations regarding what you can actually do with an Unbound army. I think it may be a case of you have to kill everything. I don't know how much you can actually score with Unbound armies. We'll have to find out obviously when the book comes out and people have had some time to read it and play. There are also, at the other end of the scale from Unbound, formations. These tell you exactly what to take. As in, it might say, you have to take Captain Sicarius, 2 tactical squads, and a Devastator squad for X points. No, it won't tell you the points. It will just say you need to take these models, possibly with these upgrades. Say this is what you're taking. The thing is, these are part of your army list. You don't make a full army based on a formation, though you can if you want to. You can play these in both Battleforged and Unbound lists, so it should be quite fun. Thank you. So, it looks like this makes it a lot of fun to play around with the Force Org, whether you want to use it, whether you don't, although competitive players may get a bit fed up of playing Unbound, because, well, if everyone else is playing Unbound and playing the spam lists, it's not fair. Missions. The 6 from 6th edition are still in, so they're the Eternal War missions. They are Purge the Alien, Crusade, Crusade, Big Guns, The Scouring. My door won't close, 1 second. Crusade, Big Guns, Scouring, The Relic, and Emperor's Will. They're still there, and they're not changed. There are also 6 new missions. These are called Maelstrom of War. We don't know how they play yet, but I've got their names. They are Cleanse and Control, Contact Lost, Tactical Escalation, Spoils of War, Cloak and Shadows, and Deadlock. We don't know how these missions will play, what their victory conditions are, but they use tactical objectives. These are a series of cards. These are 36 cards, and each player draws 1 or more cards at the start of the game. And they are objectives that they must complete. And they're usually different per player, because generally it's hard to get a repeat. It may be kill a warlord, it may be issue a challenge, it may be secure an objective, it may be whatever. And if you do it, so let's say you get to slay the warlord, you do it and you score that point instantly. It gives you a points value, maybe D3, it could be 1, 2, 3, and you score those points instantly, add them to your total, discard the card and draw another one. And then you have that objective. We're not quite sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing because it allows you to play a little bit more narratively, as in every player is doing something different. However, some of them won't work. For example, what if there's one about Psychers and you're a Necron player? Necrons don't have Psychers. If you haven't allied in, you can't complete that objective. There may be some scenarios where that can't be done, at which point I suggest you just return the card to the bottom of the deck and draw again. And there's rumour that they will try and do more missions. This was in a video from Jervis Johnson. He said they were hoping to release more missions later on. So that should be quite fun. They've doubled the mission set already. Maybe they'll increase it even further. Psychers. Psychers have had a huge shake-up. There is a new psychic phase. We think, if it's anything like fantasy, it will go before the shooting phase. We don't know quite where it is, but I expect it will go before the shooting phase. And you roll a d6 and add the mastery levels of your psychers. So let's say I've got a level 2 and a level 1, and I roll a d6, I get 3, so I have 6 warp charge dice. My opponent has brought a level 2, he rolls a d6, gets 2, so he has 4 warp charge dice. And we each roll at the start of the psychic phase, and they work like fantasy power dice and dispel dice, in a way. It's called a charge pool, and to cast, we think it's going to be a case of you roll a d6 from the power pool, or any number of d6, and on a 4+, you get it off. However, it's 4+ per charge. So for warp charge 2 power, you'll need 2 4+. Warp charge 3 4+. So it almost means you need to commit double the power dice in order to cast the power securely, of course. And the rumour is that if you fail the power, you lose it. So you really have to commit your power pool. However, there is a thought that mastery level will affect the roll for casting. So it might have to be a 3+ if you're a level 2, or a 2+ if you're a level 3. We don't know. So there's a lot to discover with Psychers. Deny the Witch has also changed. And they use their charge pool that they've rolled off, and they need 6s, but again, their mastery pool mastery levels are free to manipulate it. We're still not really sure what's going on. There's a new rule for Psychers, it's called Battle Focus. I believe there's an Eldar rule called this, it's not to be confused if there is. And what it means, if a Psyker picks all his powers from one discipline, he gets the Primaris power for free. So if if you're a level 2 and you pick 2 powers from Pyromancy, you get the the Pyromancy Primaris power instantly. God, that's a tongue twister. So it sort of persuades you to pick from one law. Level 1s get 2 powers every time because they get the Primaris power because they've only picked from one law. Of course, if you're playing Divination, this means you may get, I'm not sure what the power is, I think it's Prescience for free, which is really quite broke. And there is a new discipline. Well, there's 2 new disciplines. They come under this thing called Demonology. And there are 2 types. One is called Santic, which we know little to nothing about. And there's one called Malefic. Now, Malefic has got people either laughing or crying. It's a summoning law. There are a couple of outright powers, but you can summon using the Primaris power, which is, I think, Warp Charge 3. You can summon a 10-man squad of lesser demons. Or on another power, you summon some middle demons, or Herald. Or, if you go for the big one, you can possess your Psyker with a greater demon. Oh my god. This is one of the most terrifying laws of psychic powers I think we're ever going to see, and I think for the first few weeks of 7th edition, it will be spammed to hell as people try and get a Bloodthirster, or the Lord of Change, or the Keeper of Secrets. We really don't know what they're going to do with it, but it looks really fun. And some people are hating on it because, oh god, we don't need more randomness and more powers and more demons on the board, like more random allies that come from nowhere. And some people are saying, well, the fluff doesn't work. Why would a Space Marine Librarian be possessing himself with a Keeper of Secrets? Why? You wouldn't. So there's a lot that's still up in the air. Maybe Space Marine Librarians can't use it. We don't know. So there's a lot of fun for Psykers. Allies. Allies have had a bit of a tweak. We're not quite sure, but we think the Matrix has been reworked slightly. We know for a fact that Space Marines and Tau are now desperate allies. They used to be battle brothers. So a lot of them seem to have taken a nerf. However, there are still 3 battle brothers left, apparently. This is still, take it with a pinch of salt. CSM, Chaos Space Marines, and Demons are now battle brothers. I believe they were actually Convenience before, so this is better. Eldar and Dark Eldar, which is just what we don't need. And all Imperial, which actually, if it's the case of Grey Knights, it makes Grey Knights battle brothers with everyone when they used to be Convenience at best. So, is it good, is it bad? It fits the fluff more, but it could be a bad thing because it leaves the Eldar, Dark Eldar spam wide open. It leaves Imperium spam like Astra Militarum, spamming in Divination cheap Psykers to buff a Centurion start. It's still going to happen. We can't really unabuse the ally system. But it's better by the looks of it. We don't know for sure. The boxed game. This is a little weird because normally when an edition comes out, we see a new box game, don't we? We're used to that. We have Black Reach, Battle from a Crag, Dark Vengeance. And we've heard, I discussed this with Commissar Warwick in our collaborative video, which I'm going to put a link to in the description, about the fact that the next box game is going to contain Blood Angels and Orcs. Now, in the White Dwarf release last week, there was a little sidebar about Dark Vengeance. It said that Dark Vengeance will be updated to the new book in the near future. So the rules for 7th Ed are going to go in Dark Vengeance. Stay tuned for news on this exciting development, was their last statement in that little box. So, does this mean Dark Vengeance is here to stay? Or does it mean that they're just stuffing it in there to give them a few months before the box game comes out? No idea. I think what they'll do is that's just a little tide over until the new box game comes out, but it could mean that we're keeping Dark Vengeance, which would be a first that a box game carries over 2 editions, but I would be surprised if that were the case. What else have I said? Apparently Jink saves are in for a change. So Jink saves, basically when a skimmer moved, it gained a 5+ cover save. Jink has now gone to a 4+ cover save, but you now have to declare it, same as evading on flyers. And if you do Jink, you must Snapfire next turn. So it basically improves the save, but it makes it worse because you have to Snapfire afterwards. Obviously, if you're just running transports with very few guns, it's obviously not important. But for Eldar Wavestones with their big blast Serpent Shields, they now have to make an actual choice whether to Jink or not. Annihilation Bardies won't care, but some will. The rules for Strength D, Super Heavies and Gargantuan creatures are going in the rules. So they're bringing Apocalypse and Escalation into the main rules. They're just taking the Escalation supplement and dropping it in the rulebook by the looks of it. We don't know if it's a copy and paste or whether Strength D is going to get a nerf, because a lot of people don't like Strength Destroyer weapons. It's crazy power. So this is okay. Wound allocation is going to get even more complicated. Instead of, it used to be, take anyone off. Then it was, take the front guy off. Now, resolve one weapon class at a time. So let's take a tactical squad with bolt guns, a flamer, and a rocket launcher. So you resolve all the bolter shots, then you resolve the flamer shot, and then you resolve the rocket shot. This is just common sense, really. I mean, some people do, like, bundle all the dice together and say, right, these are from this, these are from this, and this is from that. Now you're supposed to resolve them one at a time. And you remove the models' casualties based on who was nearest the firer. This is actually quite clever. So instead, let's say you've got a guy who's like 2 inches away, but the flamer at the back is nearer another guy. I think common sense rules as you make them up would be that when the flamer fired, the guys under the flamer template would die, even though they were slightly further away from the squad. And now you do resolve it in that way. So the flamer would go first and burn whoever's closest to him. Then the bolters would go, and whoever's nearest the bolters would go down, and then the rocket launcher would fire. Or whatever order you see fit. Split fire no longer requires a leadership test, which is going to please Space Wolf fans and anyone else who runs split fire greatly, although anyone who doesn't like split fire might be a bit annoyed by it. There's been slight tweaks to mysterious objectives, although they weren't very much specified. Vehicles have got tougher, because we all know in 5th vehicles were incredibly tough, in 6th they were incredibly weak. Now they've been changed slightly, so in the past on the vehicle damage table in 6th, you blew up on a 6, which for an AP1 weapon was it blew it up on a 4+, AP2 5+. Now a vehicle only explodes on a 7+, so that means regular weapons cannot blow it up. What? What? So now my crack missile from my heavy weapon team cannot blow that rhino up, even though it penned it and should explode it into a million pieces. It can't, because it can't roll a 7 on a d6, and it doesn't get any +1 because it's AP3. What? No! Anybody like who runs mass AP4, high strength AP3, AP4 weapons for killing vehicles is screwed by this little development. And yet las cannons, melter guns, plasma guns just became insane. They are now the only things capable of blowing a vehicle up in one shot. Why? No idea. Well, I do know why, because vehicles were too weak. Vehicles got blown up very easily, particularly by AP1 weapons. It was half a chance to blow it up. So now it's a third of a chance. So for high strength weapons, it works. However, for low strength weapons, suddenly it makes them near invincible. Because you've got to take all their hull points off, and if you've only got 2 or 3 missiles, if you're a guard player, you're only going to get 1, 2 hits tops, probably 1 pen. There's only 1 hull point gone. You might immobilise it, you might blow a weapon off, but that's no good, is it? We want to be able to blow these vehicles up with our rockets. These are tank hunting missiles. They're designed to blow tanks up, so you can't blow a tank up. What? Oh well. I suppose I can see why they've done it though, because, well, vehicles were very weak in 6th edition. New rules for charging through terrain. It used to be you roll 3 dice and keep the 2 lowest, which was very, very bad. It was hard to charge through terrain. Now, I don't know if it's better or is it worse. It's now a case of it's a negative modifier to the 2d6. Not sure what to make of this. I don't know if it's -2, -3, -1. I really don't know what the modifier is. I couldn't see it on the images that we found on DACA. I took a shot of it and I couldn't read what the number was. It looked like a 2, but it might have been a 3. So yeah, charging has been nerfed through terrain. Is it as bad as 3d6 keep the 2 lowest? Don't know. Someone will probably have to crunch the numbers to find out. And that's all I've got on my list. That's pretty much some of the changes for 7th edition. Some little changes will be made that we won't really see. Things like vertical coherency. I think now it used to be in unit coherency in buildings. Now it's 6 inches between levels. So if you've got a high building with lots of levels between it, you don't have to just within 2 inches, you can be within 6 inches. That's useful. It's a little thing and very rarely will be used, but it's a nice little perk. So there'll be a few little changes to 7th edition we won't really notice, but maybe they'll make a slight difference. However, there are also some big sweeping changes. The biggest one I can see is the Force Org and Psychers, because the new missions you can just say, I want to play the regular missions. Is this better? Don't know, we haven't seen the new ones. But Psychers have got a huge change up, and it's going to take some serious reading to work out how it's going to work, particularly for the older codices, like the Orc Codex. How is that going to apply? Hopefully the Orc Codex will be out the month after. If there's any more news on that, I'll bring that to you in another video. So yeah, that's all for today. Be sure to leave me your opinions. I've got a comment section down there. Make sure you leave comments in there, or head over to Twitter at Tactica Imperial and tweet me your thoughts, or just any things you want me to do in future, be it for news, tacticas, anything really. I'm quite adaptable, and I'm halfway through exams now, so I should be pretty clear to do some work once I'm through. Yeah, that's it really. So my next video will be another fantasy tactica. I'm doing the Law of Metal. So yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for watching.